My name is Dustin. I just recently celebrated 2.5 years of sobriety. I was part of the fatherless generation. I was a latchkey child when I was young. A lot of things I seen in my home environment I thought were normal wasn't, and my mental health wasn't the best. I was several times placed in the care of mental health facilities. By the time I was 12, I was using drugs on a regular basis, almost daily. By the time I was 14, I was selling drugs, and I graduated high school with pretty good grades. We moved a lot. I moved every year except for 3 when I was in school, and I continued that on outside of high school. I had 11 scholarships to be a civil engineer, and I dropped out of college immediately after I started. The drugs just got worse and worse, and I think it was a symptom of my mental health. I could hide from reality and drugs, and by the time I was 30, I had 2 kids and a really, really bad addiction to methamphetamine. Me and their mother split up, and I kind of spiraled down hard. I started being in jail as much as I was free. I was missing as many days of work as I was at work, and it was just horrible. And I was miserable. I was suicidal. I was anxious. My health was failing. My kidneys was failing. I had gout. Couldn't walk for a lot of them each month. I was just in really bad shape, and I wanted to quit, and I didn't think I could. And I heard on the radio that a guy named Joshua Van Dusseldorp was putting on a career show for people with bad backgrounds, and I really wanted to go to it, but I slept through it, and didn't hear anything else about that for a while. But a guy messaged me on Facebook about fixing a generator for him, and I didn't recognize the name at the time. I told him I could fix it, and I didn't hear from him for a while. And that was probably like March of 2021, and around November of 2021, he messaged me back about the generator, and I never heard from him. And a friend of mine had just gotten out of jail, and we realized we needed to pray because we both had some really big charges over our heads. I was facing 12 years, she was facing 26, I think. And the best prayer I could come up with at the time was that I prayed she wouldn't die in my bed, and what she prayed is that we could get clean together. And 5 minutes later, Joshua Van Dusseldorp messaged me, and I told him I needed to know about his program. As he started talking to me, I hung the phone up on him, and I went to work, and I made a pretty big mistake at work, a really simple mistake, but I was high, and I told my boss I needed to call him back. After I talked to him, he acted like I hadn't hung the phone up on him. He asked me was I ready when I called him back, and that was on a Friday, December 3rd of 2021. On the 6th, he had me at the Center of Hope, and the Center of Hope was new to me. It was different. There was a lot of love up there, a lot of talk about Jesus, and I had very little faith. I really had no faith at the time, and I kind of faked it for 7 months. And at the beginning of the program, I read Romans 7, where Paul talks about what he should do is not what he does, and he wants to do better, but he can't. There's 2 things alive in him, and he can't basically quit falling to the sin and the evil in him. And I could relate to it, but I still didn't know why it stood out to me so much. And about 7 months in, the verse was still highlighted in my mind. I was reading it again, and I read right after where he said, well, "O miserable man that I am, who can save me from this body trapped in sin and death?" And at that moment, everything in my life just started making sense. It started clicking. I sat back in my seat, and it wasn't a prayer I said with anybody else. It wasn't even something I said out loud. I just said in my mind, "God, if you can fix this, help me do it." And at that moment, I was saved. I graduated the program. I stayed up there for a few months. I come home, and about 6 months after I come home, I went through some stuff in my family that was some stuff I put my kids through come to light. And my daughter thought that I was trying to get her taken from her grandmother. And I thought about using it again that day, and I reached out to Abel again. And since I come to Abel, I've been on a fast track towards my future. I'm about to start school in October for substance abuse counseling. I get to see my kids all the time. I actually have a job in the ministry getting to help people walk this out and find Jesus. And I'm happy like I was before I started using drugs. The happiness and the joy and the peace and the deliverance is something that's really hard to explain. My health is pretty good. I never get gout anymore. My ulcers are never flare up. my mental health is a thing of the past. I don't think about suicide. I don't get depressed. Those thoughts are just completely gone. I've been delivered from it 100%, as well as the drug addiction. I just celebrated 2.5 years. And that's my life in a nutshell.